What it do, Pay?
What's happening, my boy?
Back in the building.
Love to hear it. Football back in town. Before we get started, man, I got a question for you, just to break the ice.
All right.
You're in the food service industry. You're a foodie. You know food, right?
I my whole life has been my adult life's been about food in some way, shape, and form. Yeah.
Yeah. So you love food. So this is going to be a curveball. This is going to probably shake you to your core.
Okay.
What's a type of food that you would not eat under any circumstances? Like they would have to torture you with this.
Well, that's a good one. I mean, you're talking to a guy who's eating fish eyes and rattlesnake and man.
Fish eyes?
I got it, man. And I'm not this way with all innards, man. I like chicken gizzards. I like some. I've had haggis this year. But I can't do liver and onions, man. Scar for life. Scar for life. Liver and onions.
Let me tell you, man. On one of our past episodes, we talked about fears. One of my past episodes on the bear claw, we talked about fears. One of my fears is falling down the escalator, like running down the escalator and you trip and fall. Another one of my fears is being waterboarded with oatmeal.
Ooh.
I despise oatmeal to its core.
Ooh.
I hate the smell, hate the look, hate the taste, hate the texture, all of it. None about it is good. Let me tell you, I probably got a top 5 list of things I would rather do than eat oatmeal. One of those, let me see.
Cook bacon naked.
Ooh, I would rather cook bacon naked than eat oatmeal. I would rather drag my tongue down Lower Wacker Drive in Chicago than eat oatmeal. I would rather wear a Packers jersey than eat oatmeal.
Oh man, that's getting serious now.
It's getting serious. Hey, I would rather sit on a couch that was in a room alone with JD Vance than eat oatmeal.
Wow. I don't know how you go past that for you. I don't know. Be the head of fundraising for Brett Favre, something like that.
Ooh, be his his lawyer. That's a winning argument.
Keep him busy. First comment, as we have taken this year Pay Dirt live for the first time. Afton, the captain, gave us a yay.
I like it.
We're back.
Afton?
We're back. So yes, you have reached Pay Dirt. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, aka B Dirt, with your host Pay Saunders, telling you all the things that he won't do.
And it's not that many, but I've got my limits. B. So it's that time of year. It's that time of year. One of the most. It's like Christmas for adults, mostly adult men, like 86% men. It's Christmas is on the way,
and definitely Afton too.
And definitely Afton. That's why I say 86%. I gotta leave. It's up there for some women, but for a large swath of the population, the fantasy football draft is Christmas. And we are here to talk about it. I've been waiting on this show for a long time, B.
Yeah, we kicked the idea around last year and never did it. So I'm pretty excited to be where we're at. Get to talk a little more fantasy football. I think I checked out on it a little bit last year because it was my first season in the blood and
blood in, blood out.
blood in
Let's,
and
let's
blood
just
out.
let's just call it the homies league.
Yeah, it's so it was my first year in there, so I didn't want to divulge too much. But as you had stated backstage, you with 100% accuracy, the gentlemen that we're playing with are too stubborn to take any kind of consideration from anybody other than themselves. So I feel free to go ahead and do this and share some of our thoughts, processes, and what we got going on for the upcoming fantasy football draft.
Yes, I do as well. They're listening. Shout out to them. Make sure you like and subscribe. You do it at you all as well. And some of those guys, they still read fantasy football magazines that you see at the grocery store. Let's try to give our listeners a little bit more better information that they can get from a magazine that was published.
I like to call it nuance, Pay. Nuance.
Oh, I like that. Nuance. Let's try to give it a more up-to-date, nuanced information. Where should we start?
Well, I want to start by saying this before we get into debating the upcoming draft. If you are in a league and your fantasy draft happened a week or 2 weeks ago, you should call your commissioner, or if you are the commissioner, take a long look in the mirror. Too many people get injured in the preseason. There's been some folks out there lost. Some people are going to not play this year. It's going to affect some other. Even when you have linemen go down, it may affect where you take a running back, especially when you're looking at your second or third string running back. Let's just go ahead and kick that can down the road. Let's get into at least the last week of the preseason before you start drafting your fantasy football. I'll digress after that. But yeah, man, we're gonna jump right into it, and probably, in my mind, one of the most important things you can do is kind of get your position draft rankings together. And what I mean by that is, where do you see yourself taking positions as far as, do you want your running backs first? Do you like to go running back, get it over with? Do you like to sprinkle the wide receivers in there? We had somebody in our league pick a quarterback first round. I don't know if that's your strategy, but what's your kind of strategy or thought process there?
My thought process is my number one strategy. I want to win. So I don't want to do things that are going to hinder that strategy, hinder my success. Drafting a quarterback in the first round, unless this is a super flex league, a quarterback prominent league, anything like that, I'm not drafting a quarterback in the first round. So for the sake of argument, or for the sake of the show, let's just talk standard type leagues, PPR, 12 team, 10, 12 team league, stuff like that.
And my favorite, by the way, is the half PPR. Big fan.
Oh, yeah. It's no different to me. Half PPR, full PPR. It all runs the same to me. And for that, with that in mind, if I'm drafting in the top half of the league, let's say if it's a 10 team league, obviously top 5, 12 team league, obviously top 6, I'm probably going to kick the can on a running back, a dual threat running back. None of your Derrick Henrys, none of your Adrian Petersons, nobody in that type of ilk. I want somebody that can catch the ball and run the ball with dominance in both skill sets. Why? Because as you stated, a PPR, points per reception. I need somebody that's going to give me points night and day and night. Shout out to my boy CMC, who is a PPR demon in his heyday. So that would be where I would look. Now, I did say top 6, right? What if I'm in the fourth pick or fifth pick? How football is now, football is an air game, and a lot of teams, they deploy running back by committees. So the amount of running backs that's going to be available to you, even in the top half of the draft, is going to be scarce. So get comfortable with the idea of drafting a dominant wide receiver. Dominant wide receivers there are more of those than you have a dominant running back. Your Tyreek Hills, your Justin Jeffersons, Jamar Chase. Shout out to my boy B Dirt. Those are league winners. Those guys, they have a typical season for them. A typical season for Justin Jefferson is 1,800 yards. 1,800 yards is you can't sniff at that. That is a gold mine week in and week out. What about you, B? What positions do you favor?
Well, I had the number one overall pick in one of my leagues last year, and I took Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm. As you should.
And it turned out pretty well for me. So if I'm in those top 2 or 3 picks and I can get one of probably 2 running backs that I have in my thought process in the top, let's call it top 4 picks. If in the top 4 picks, one of the top 2 running backs in my mind, that's where there's a tier that I not only that I feel a tier of their point ceiling, but really they shrink that point floor more than I could see Bijan Robinson being RB1 this year, but I know his floor is not RB3 or 4 or 5, where I think that's a Christian McCaffrey, right? So because of that shrink on that, if I get in that top 4, I'll do running back. If not, I'm 100% with you. Get an elite wide receiver while you can. There's a handful of them in the league. So if you're in a 10-team league, that you're going to have some guys that take running backs. You're going to have 3 or 4 running backs off. And if that's the situation, then you got to get one of those top 5 or 6 wide receivers in round 1, in my mind. But in those first 4, let's say, rounds, I'm probably looking wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, tight end. It can mix up a little bit, but that's kind of my thought process going in, is that strategy, and then it can twist or play within those confines depending on who's available.
Should we talk strategy? Draft strategy? As you're getting into after your first pick, and how do you want to formulate your team after that?
Yeah, we can go right to it. We got the strategic draft weighting is something I kind of talked about, and that can kind of go into that, what you're alluding to there. I consider strategic draft weighting, for those of you that are familiar with baseball terminology out there, if you're familiar with WAR, wins over replacement, I do POR, points over replacement. So nice. I'm tiering up those wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, where I feel like there's gaps from tier 1 to tier 2, tier 2 to tier 3. It may be like wide receiver is a good one, where tier 1 and tier 2 a lot of times are bunched up, right? So as long as I'm in tier 1 and tier 2 with wide receivers, I'd love to get one of those elite ones, like I said, in round 1. If not, then here's what we're doing. We want to stay in that tier 2 and get 2 people there. Tight end, a lot of times, tier 1 to tier 2 is a pretty significant drop off. Your Sam Laportas, your George Kittles, those kind of guys, Travis Kelce, have elite points in that tight end tier. After that, you might have 1 or 2 pop in there, but you do normally see a drop off. So that's kind of where I'm looking at with those. Same thing, quarterback, again, you see people bunched together. The tiers get a little murky. So that's kind of how I look at strategic draft weighting and where I'm going to go in. It's going to be kind of fluid depending on where my draft goes. If there's a run in your draft on tight ends and you got one elite tight end in your mind left, maybe you draft him, a round before you thought. Now, in no way, shape, or form should I stop. I'm not saying that you should reach for somebody 3 rounds ahead of schedule. But if it's a round in order to make sure you're in that tier, more than likely it's because they've already taken those people. So then if you're still looking for a running back, the running back's still going to be there when it comes back. Pay, what are your thoughts on that one?
I like where you're going with that. I kind of like to come into my draft with the plan. And this is I kind of spoke on this on the Know It All show this past Sunday. The biggest thing you can do to help yourself be successful in your fantasy draft is to have a plan. However, I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth. You don't want to be married to that plan, right? And you kind of hinted at this in what you were talking about your POR. Let's say that my strategy in my draft is to go 0 RB, right? I'm sitting at the 6th pick, and I've already told myself I'm not touching a running back until the 5th or 6th round. That's what, for those that don't know, 0 RBs. You're agnostic to running back until the middle of the draft. If that's my strategy, what happens if Christian McCaffrey just happens to fall to me at number 6? What happens if Breece Hall falls that way? What do I do? Do I stick with that strategy? Absolutely not. You need to be a little bit flexible. You gotta show some flex. Unless you're just hard pressed, like I don't like neither one of those guys for various reasons. You do the homework. Stand by your research. But if something like that happens, in any round, you want to be able to pivot to make the best team that you could possibly make with the opportunities that was granted to you, right? Mm-hmm. That's how I see the type of strategy and thought process going into this. You definitely want to be learning. You want to do the work, do the research, get it from where you get it, where you trust it, possibly on Pay Dirt. It should be on Pay Dirt because we're going to give you the best information that money can buy. $3.99. You want to have your research, be as well informed as you need to be before you're on the clock. Therefore, you can make the best decision. Yeah, I like going 0 RB. I love it. You can find great running backs. Don't even think about them all the way until the 6th round. Now, let me not say great. Let me take that back. I'm gonna walk that back a little bit. You can find serviceable running backs until you start pounding them in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. I got all my running backs, but I've already got I got an elite quarterback, I got an elite wide receivers, I got an elite tight end. That is a perfect way to build a squad. But if something else comes your way, you need to know how to, maneuver around and, do what you got to do.
So what I'm hearing you say is if your league is going to be stupid, then you don't have to be stubborn.
No.
If they put it right in front of you, go ahead and take it.
That's exactly what we're saying. You said it too. If your league mates are having a run on tight end, that don't mean you got to participate. Just because if they want to draft Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews back to back at 4 and 5 in the 1st round, hey, that's not going to force me to go get Sam Laporta. Oh, whoa. You go right ahead, bro. Y'all do your thing.
Yeah, if it's moving you more than one draft position, it's probably an ill-advised move. In I would say almost all cases.
Exactly.
I don't really see anything else. Low-hanging fruit. I get asked this question more than any other question about fantasy football. If you got the number 1 draft overall, number 1 choice overall, who are you taking?
Oh, that is a great question. I think for the 3rd year in a row, you can't go wrong with taking Christian McCaffrey at number 1. I do think there's an argument to be had for other players better, more so than the last couple of years. to take over Christian McCaffrey, and I've got a great reason why. But if that was your choice, no one would fault you. No one would fault you. That is a great pick. B, what about you?
Well, Christian McCaffrey, great choice. Great choice. Mm-hmm. But I took him last year, like I said, number 1 overall. He's had some history of injuries in his career. Do I miss the boogeyman 2 years in a row if I take him number 1 overall? Not something I'm willing to gamble on. I think CD Lamb would be a fine choice, but the unrest in Dallas, I think it'll be ironed out, but probably gets me off of him at number 1. Justin Jefferson would be like just plug and play number 1, but then I got to talk about Sam Darnold all year. I don't want to do that. So a guy that I think came back last year and had a good season after injury, you already mentioned him in the podcast. I would take Breece Hall number 1. I think he's going to have a bang-up year. Mm-hmm. So that would be my pick number 1. I think they're going to feed him the ball, especially early. With Aaron Rodgers coming off of a torn Achilles. He's also very, very dangerous and good at catching the ball in the backfield. So I like him at number 1. That's probably my choice. Tyreek Hill, again, wide receiver at 30 years old, had some ankle injuries and some nagging stuff last year. That prevented him really from getting 2,000 yards in my mind. Jamar Chase is threatened to sit out this year from what we're hearing from Mr. Ocho Cinco. Who knows?
No one's more plugged in than Ocho.
Yeah, and then Tim said it right here. QB issues in Minnesota's Jefferson dropped a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, he's still going to get his, I think. I still think he's 1,500 yards.
Listen, we're old enough to remember the Randy ratio, right? They're going to bring that back. They have no choice but to bring that type of institutional insanity in Minnesota. KJ Osborne is hurt. Jordan Addison, he's hurt-ish, and he might get suspended. Hawkinson is down for at least another 2 months, maybe. It is Justin Jefferson and the Jeffettes in Minnesota. There's no other game in town. He's going to get all the targets. If you love target monsters, if you love talking target shares, Justin Jefferson is your man. Like I said earlier, 1,800 yard season. Jefferson does that, in his sleep.
Yeah.
So, will the defense hone in on him? Absolutely. The defense is always honed in on him, and he still finds a way to still get his. It
hasn't mattered yet. Yeah.
No, it hasn't mattered yet, and I do think Sam Darnold is pretty serviceable for a fantasy quarterback. Every time he's played, he hasn't hindered any of his teammates. He hasn't hindered their production. I think he's going to be fine. Is he a good quarterback to win games with? That's to be seen. But as far as production for the wide receiver 1, I think he's just fine. If you want to draft him number 1, go right ahead. If you want to draft him in the top 3, you better not let him slip the floor. You better not let him slip the floor, because now you're tripping. He should be your first wide receiver.
Yeah, and Darnold, I don't think's had somebody that you can just throw the ball up to. Mm-hmm. If in doubt, throw it his way, and I think he's got that now. So I think you're right. You're going to see a lot of balls thrown his way. No diddy. All right, it's about that time. We're going to take a quick break here from our distinguished sponsors here. If you're on YouTube, we'll just be right back here in 1 second. If you're on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, We appreciate you rocking with us. Make sure you go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend where you get your football gambling info at Pay Dirt. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Pay Dirt. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, aka B Dirt, with your host, Pay Saunders. Pay, we got through that number one overall pick, which is just over-asked, I feel like, a little bit played out. But what I want to know from you, if given the ability to choose where you pick from. Now, I have been in a couple of drafts where they do that. They randomly pick actually they put your names on a thing and spin it. And if your name comes up, you get a pick where you want to draft in the draft order instead of just going 1, 2, 3, 4, which I think is kind of fun. So if you get a pick where you pick in your draft order, where would you slot yourself, my friend?
Ooh, I'm going to take. Is this for this year only, or just in any scenario, any year?
Oh, well, I didn't really think about it that way.
Because that changes the answer a little bit, B.
It does. The answer. You can do that from here to there.
Some years the options are plentiful. Other years it's a steep drop off after 3. So, but let's keep it simple. Let's just say for 2024, the number that I would love to pick from, if I can get in all my drafts, if I can get the number 4 pick, I am golden. I love it. I don't have the pressure of the number 1 pick. I can let the board play out a little bit. I'm not too far from the swing on the 3rd round. So I get to pick my second round pick and then come back around and get my 3rd round pick. I can get the pick of the litter of the 3rd round. So I think that's a perfect place to be, exactly for the player that I'm targeting, who you'll hear about a little bit later.
So I honest to God, I didn't think of it your way as far as this year versus a blanket statement for years. I would say normally it won't change for me very much. But mine changes from 12 teams to 10 teams.
Okay.
12 teams, I'm with you. Too much of a drop off from 10 to 5 in my mind. I want to get one of those top guys. I have number 4 down. As if I'm in a 12 team league, I had 4. I'd be okay with 3. I'd be okay with 5. I prefer 4.
Great minds.
10 team league, I'm number 7. I'll wait it out a little bit longer in a 10 team because I feel like I can get really good production back-to-back picks at 7 or 8 in that range. I feel like I can get really, really good draft picks back-to-back. Those first 4 rounds, I feel like I can accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. So I go back a little bit more on 10 team. What's your thoughts on that strategy?
For a 10-team league, I'm not necessarily concerned with it as much. I would like to be towards the back end of it, Pauls, because just for that point, I think my team would be just as good as anybody in the first four picks. Because a 10-team league, obviously the talent is a lot more stacked in together. If I get the number 7 pick, let's say for S&Gs, number 7 pick is Tyreek Hill, right? That's a number 1 draft pick type of player.
Yeah, I mean, so you're gonna get him. You might get Bijan. Mm-hmm. You might get Amon-Ra St. Brown in that area. You're gonna get a really good first round pick right there.
Oh yeah, I mean in a 10-team league, the floor is a lot higher in your first round because you don't have. It's just obviously because there's less players, as less people picking, so the talent pool is a lot more deep. So, like I said, you can get Amon-Ra St. Brown and turn around and get Jonathan Taylor at a great pick at a great price for Jonathan Taylor, or Derrick Henry. And this is drafting at number 7. So I would like that as well.
Huh. Hold on a second. I gotta add some notes over here. There we go.
What was that?
Taking notes from you, Pay.
Boy, hey, slow down. Put that pen down, B.
Hold on. We got a draft coming up. All right. So we're gonna go into some of our personal picks here.
Okay.
I hate to do this. I hate to go into these, but I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna air my dirty laundry because this happens every year. Man, Pay, I got a man crush. Got a man crush.
We've all been there.
I take him a little too early every year.
Whoa.
And if given the opportunity, I'm probably going to draft him a little too early this time. Even though he's coming off of surgery.
Ooh.
Man,
this is true love.
I roll with Joe Burrow. Slim
Nice.
Shiesty's my guy.
Slim Shiesty.
So I normally get him probably one or two picks early. But especially when I'm in our league, especially when I got those Steelers guys I got to listen to. I love having Shiesty over there, but
I'm going to test you, B. I'm going to test you. How heavy are your cojones? Because I'm going to ask you right now, put it on wax. Where are you looking to get Shiesty?
Well, it's man. It depends on where I pick, right?
Yeah. But
I'm all right with breaking my rules and getting him. He's averaging 7th quarterback off of the board.
I'm gonna let you I'm gonna filibuster for you for a second. So this is sort of like a where should you take quarterback question, right? So when I ask where are you looking to get Shiesty, I kind of think that, and you might disagree, I kind of think the first quarterback off the board in a standard league should be no earlier than mid-third round for Josh Allen.
Yeah, I would say early mid. Say early mid. So I would say I agree with you. So I would say I should be able to get Joe Shiesty into the 5th. I'm probably taking him in the 4th.
Yeah. There we go. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll probably take him in the 4th. Probably way too early in the 4th too. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. You got to put on for your mans. Hey, you got to. Hey, if you don't love your man crush properly, who else will? I just couldn't have Big G having him on his team. You know what I mean? It just crushed my soul.
Can't have that. Big G's got to have his own players. He got to ride out with his own man crush. You know who that is? That running back from the Cleveland Browns.
Player.
He had Najee Harris, top 5 running back last year. So
he has a extreme crush for me. Some might say he actually has a chubby for him.
Oh, hey now.
Hey.
Do you have a man crush? You got somebody that you take a little bit out of position, even if it's later rounds?
Yeah, and you're gonna see me do it this draft. I have a man crush for somebody who's supposed to be an op, somebody who plays in my favorite team's division, but doesn't play for my favorite team. I know
he's a Packer.
No, hell,
he's gotta be a Lion.
Yeah, it's a Lion. He's a Detroit Lion. I'm crushing hard on the sun god. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
He's a bad man.
Listen. In my big money league, I already know my draft pick. if anybody's watching this, guess what? That's who I'm taking in the first round. That's exactly who I'm getting. You can't stop me from getting him. I'm getting him, and I'm going to draft him early. I don't care. I don't care. His floor is a lot higher than anybody else's. Well, a lot higher than a lot of other people in that first round. I'm secure with that. I'm secure in my manhood. I'm secure in his floor. I'm secure in my position. I'm going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown early in the first round. Now, if I mess around into my other draft picks and my other draft leagues, and I have a selection 8 or lower, then I'm gonna have to go get I'm gonna go get his teammate, Jamar Gibbs, who is climbing up the charts of a crush.
Yeah, he looks good. Afton supports your decision there. And Tim is on to something here. Says G is sitting here listening and taking notes. There's no doubt about that.
No diddy.
No doubt about that. He's probably trying to get this out of the way before he goes on and talks about Justin Fields and why he missed wide open wide receivers last week. But I digress.
Ooh, you trying to start something? We don't need no Wednesday wars. I like alliteration. We don't need the PYB boys coming at the PD boys.
Man, I didn't start no war. I just watched a guy run a wide open crossing route when the safety followed somebody across the middle of the field. It wasn't nothing but space and opportunity, and space won. Okay, I digress.
Justin Fields is a nice fantasy fantasy quarterback as well. If just throwing it out there, if some Steeler truthfuls were listening to us, they not a bad pick.
I see what you're doing there. You just gotta make sure you water that seed so it grows nice and fruitful.
That's right.
So let's look into, everybody talks about who you think is going to be the breakout star, who you think this, that, and the other. But we've hit on it a couple times. A lot of what we're doing here in fantasy football is not just looking for that breakout star, but taking risk aversion, right?
Yes.
So who do you think, and it might not just be like, hey, this is going to be a bust this year. It could just be overvalued, taken too early. You have some questions about that person, their team, that might lead you to steering clear of them where they're getting drafted right now. Who do you got on questionable picks?
So I'm going to just go full-blown players I do not want on my team this year. Full-blown. Number one with a bullet. If I have a top 3 pick, I am avoiding this player like the plague. And he is Christian McCaffrey. I've had Christian McCaffrey on my team a lot in his career. I've had him on great seasons, and I've had him on both of his injury-riddled seasons. I am a Christian McCaffrey truther, but guess what? All good things come to an end. At 28 years old, no running back has ever led the running back position in fantasy and scoring. They've never finished number one in scoring for that position as a 28-year-old. Never happened. It's only happened a handful of times for somebody over the age of 26. So Christian McCaffrey's already, he did it last year. He's already, bucked the trend. But how many times are you going to buck the trend, right? How many times are you going to play with the grenade before, hoping it's a dud? One of those times, you're going to get caught holding it too long and he's going to blow your arm off. I don't want to be that guy. That's why one of the reasons I stayed away from Derrick Henry for so many years. Don't want to be that guy when the carriage turns back to a pumpkin. Can't be me.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Derrick Henry, because you've actually mentioned taking him earlier, and I'm telling you, I'm staying away from Derrick Henry because right now, almost every publication I've seen has him in the top 15 overall, top 20 overall.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't giving up a top 15 pick for Derrick Henry, and the reasons why are as stated. The man's 30, and he had a lot of tread on his tires coming out of Alabama. worn off the tires. So at some point in time, that's got to catch. I know he is a freak of nature. He is built like an Adonis. I get it. Joints are what age, not muscles. It's not the muscles you got to worry about. It's the joints. So because of that, and because of the fact that he is now in the AFC North, where he has averaged against AFC North teams 58 yards per game. He got players 6 times. I'm going to sit out on Derrick Henry getting a top 15, 20 pick from me. I'm not doing it. I'm going to run it a second one right at you. And I tell you, I think the huge upside, ceiling's enormous. But because of his quarterback, he doesn't have a floor. He's walking around on just the truss. It could get ugly at any point in time. And I hate to say it, but I think Malik Neighbors going to the Giants, not a good look. Danny Dimes, ugh. I mean, it's bad. So that's the one. That's another one. I just don't. Not this year. I'm hoping he has an off year and a bad year, and they actually get him a quarterback next year. I can get him next year.
I kind of the argument I had earlier for Justin Jefferson, why you should still believe in him with Sam Darnold, it kind of also can go that same way with Neighbors, with Danny Dimes. However, you got to go sight unseen with the New York duo. And so I understand trying to I'm going to be a risk averse on that one. I get that. Another guy that I am avoiding like the plague in my draft will have to be Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs for the Green Bay Packers, first year with the Packers. It should be, normally you would think this is a bounce back year. He held out last offseason from all training camp, a year after being the rushing leader. He held out for a contract. He didn't get it from Las Vegas. Came back and he had a down season. It didn't turn out right. He leaves and goes to Green Bay. He gets his contract. He's the number one guy without question there. And he's got training camp. He's in camp. He's having a good camp for all intents and purposes. However, Josh Jacobs is one of those guys that are, as you said, tread. I don't trust the tread. I don't trust the fact that the Raiders allowed him to go, decided we're not paying him and we're going to let you go. They know something. I'm going to believe him. I'm gonna believe the tea leaves. They know something. Maybe he's no longer that guy anymore. Like, okay, I'm gonna stay away. It won't be me. I'll let somebody else be the guinea pig on that one.
So, do you have any concerns over people out there right now with contract concerns? I referenced earlier CD Lamb, Jamar Chase, anybody at the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm a big I need to see you in camp guy, right? Even though it's not an exact science anymore, there has been guys who have held in, and still had a healthy season. But 9 times out of 10, most times, you hold out, you don't show up to camp, you don't have you're not your best representative throughout the season. Ezekiel Elliott with the Cowboys, he's an example, and the examples are longer than my arm. In this offseason, we've got a lot of guys either holding out or showing up to camp but just not doing anything on any organized team activities. Your boy Jamar Chase is one of them. With that being said, I'm just circling the stadium. I'm in a holding pattern right now. I'm not being committed to CD Lamb. I'm not committing myself to Jamar Chase. I'm not committing myself to who else is holding out right now? Dak Prescott. Yeah, Dak Prescott, when it's time for getting a quarterback. None of these guys who are fantastic fantasy quarterbacks. I won our league,
Brandon
the homies
Ayuk.
league. Brandon Ayuk is another one. I won the homies league last year with Dak Prescott as my quarterback. He's a fantastic fantasy quarterback. I don't want any parts of it because football is all cohesive. It's all timing. You gotta be on the same page as your guys. If you're not there in the scrum of it during camp, I can just write off all of September. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be paying catch up. Come around. It's Halloween. Now I'm fighting to get back to 500 because you play it off. You play it out of camp. Get your money. I'm all support of that, but this is a business decision. You got to make your business decisions. I got to make mine. I can't do it.
I agree with you. I moved them down the board a little bit on my draft board.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of those things where at some point in time, you're getting me to bite. The payoff is too big. It's like getting odds for your draft choice to me.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Talk about value.
Yeah. So that's where I'm really trying to, if I feel like I'm getting good odds for that draft pick, like if he hits, it's going to be really hard to better that or one up that in any position I'm at. If that falls down, that's going to be what I'm hitting at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
I can see that. I can see exactly where you're going. I probably am being a little too harsh. If I had a lead that all thought like me and CeeDee Lamb failed to pick into the second round, I am going to move heaven and earth to go get CeeDee Lamb at that point because there's no way I can't take that flyer. See, if I'm drafting him in the top 5, it's one thing. If I get him at a bargain price, I will wait. I'll wait on you to get your feet wet. I can wait on that.
Are we gonna give some of the gold nuggets up here to our listeners? I feel like this subject, your favorite flyers, should be behind a paywall.
I like.
But here we are.
Hashtag paywall.
Here we are. We're gonna give it up for free. You want me to start? You want to start? How you want to do this?
Let's do this alternating. I'll give one, you give one, come back to me, go back to you. I'll start. Here's mine. And we just talked about it. I just led right into this. Value flyer, your boy T. Higgins. Also, a little disgruntled about his cash situation, right? I'm doing mocks and I'm catching him in the 7th, 8th round. That is great value for somebody of his talent. I can't do it. I cannot pass that up. I'll take that every time.
He's definitely got number one talent.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely see that. Yeah, I mean he's a Bengal, so if he's around, I'll probably try to pair him up with my 4th round quarterback. You know what I mean?
It only makes sense, Pete.
Get that double dip. I'll tell you who I'm going to give a flyer on, and I really like this guy. I love the way he interviews. I think he's hilarious. He's country as country gets. I'm going Keon Coleman out of Buffalo, man.
I like it. I like it.
Dude, if I win my fantasy football draft, I may send him a coat on me. On me. I want to root for the kid too. So if I can get a flyer on him and I can root for him, have a vested interest, I really like Keon Coleman. And listen, they're a little depleted down there. They got some tight ends, but they're a little questionable at wide receiver, and we all know that when things break down, Josh Allen likes to run around and throw deep. I think Keon Coleman's going to benefit from that. So we'll go back to you. You got a second one you want to give us?
Somebody flying underneath the radar. I don't know if this kind of meets the topic criteria, because I don't think he's a secret, but he's definitely not getting talked about a lot. And that is Kyron Williams, the LA Rams running back. He, in his rookie year last year, he was a dog while he wasn't hurt. He was a week winner every week. As I said, he's had a lot of injuries last year, so he's not really getting the the bump that Jahmyr Gibbs is getting right now. So he's kind of under the radar right now. So I mean, if you can sneakily get him in the third round, you might be onto something. I'm trying to.
I like that. I want to be a homer, mostly because I've got his autograph poster right here. But I'd like to see Blake Corum get some of those carries. But I'll stick in the Michigan presence here. Late round pickup at running back. One of your old Ravens guys, Gussie, playing for the Chargers. And one thing I know about them Harbaughs, they're going to run the ball. So I think Gus Edwards is going to get a good amount of carries, and could be a good pickup for the Chargers. I think they're definitely going to be a little more balanced than they have in the past, running the ball and stuff. J.K. Dobbins, man, he's the backup there. Had some really bad injury history. I don't know. Bouncing back after ACL is 2 of them and Achilles. That's a rough sled, but I think Gus Edwards is probably going to get some good minutes there.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. I think he's a good bye week filler. I think he can mess around and be very productive in.
I think you're getting late, like on the way out. You're probably going to get him at around the same time you're getting kickers.
That makes sense.
What do you think about just a question? Do you think we see a bounce back? Somebody that's been taken too early in the past couple of years, but finally has some stability at quarterback, and we found out he played injured last year. Do you think Kyle Pitts has the ability to bounce back at tight end for the Falcons?
They said he's going to split out wide a lot this season. They're going to try him as a traditional wide receiver in some packages. I would like to see it. I need to see it to believe it. The tight end position, it is becoming more fruitful for fantasy purposes. And so it'll be great to have Kyle Pitts to reclaim some of that some of his position, because he's always overdrafted. It'll be nice that he actually puts the production up to match those 3rd and 4th round draft selections that he's been getting in his career. But would I draft him? Absolutely not. I can't do it. Sorry.
Here's a good one from John Caldwell. Drake London or Marvin Harrison Jr.
in a full PPR? I definitely would go. I'll probably go Marvin. It's interesting, right? So Atlanta's offense is, you kind of don't know what you're going to get there. You got new quarterback Kirk. I'm blanking on his last name. Kirk Cousins. But he can't scramble, so everything's going to be come out of the pocket for him. So you maybe got to tick up from Bijan, you maybe got to tick up from Kyle Pitts, and you maybe got to tick up from Drake London. It remains to be seen. Like I just said, Marvin Harrison, it's a new toy for Kyler Murray. And you know how early season Kyler Murray is. He's always flashy. He's always putting up big numbers up until Call of Duty comes out. So I would prefer, if it comes down to one of them in whatever round that is, I would take Marvin Harrison.
I'm taking Marvin Harrison with a bullet. I think Drake London again, you referenced Kyle Pitts. You got Bijan Robinson. You got some more talent over there. I think the bulk of the wide receiver throws are going to go to Marvin Harrison Jr. I think McBride at tight end is going to have a good year with Kyler Murray there. I expect I bet Marvin Harrison Jr. for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And you can see the maize and blue all over behind me.
Well, you had no love for that navy blue and orange.
No
love for them. Yeah,
I got none of that around.
I kind of think the Offensive Rookie of the Year is.
Tim Lyons says Murray is big trash. I can tell you, I don't think he's trash, and I know he ain't big. So, I think we just. I think he's going to have good numbers.
Oh yeah.
Do I want Kyler Murray as my quarterback? No. I think he's going to have good numbers. He's going to throw the ball deep. He's going to make exciting plays.
From a fantasy perspective, would you be mad if Kyler Murray is your quarterback?
No, sir. I mean,
exactly.
love it if he's my number 2. So,
if Kyler Murray is my fantasy quarterback, I'm doing just fine. As long as he's healthy, I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, he's putting up numbers, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Pay, you got anything else you want to cover before we say goodnight to the folks?
I'm going to reiterate this again. Everyone, ladies and gentlemen, do the research. Come into your draft fully informed on what you want to do, but do not be married to any strategy. Have a strategy, but if something happens that makes you pivot, then by all means, pivot and be great.
Be flexible and be great, no doubt. We appreciate you guys rocking with us as always. Everybody over in the chat, John Caldwell, thanks for the great questions. Tim Lyons, thank you for the trash opinions. If you want to see me and Tim bicker a little bit more, we'll be going live here in about 20 minutes. I'll run it through the jungle where we will be talking about said contract problem with our boy Jamar Chase. So I digress. Tell everybody where they can catch you at, Pay.
As you saw on the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel, we were just live doing our NFC North Roundtable right before this show started. That's still up for consumption right there. Also, on the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel, you can always catch at least, you got 3 episodes a week of the Bear Claw podcast covering the Chicago Bears, 2 episodes a week of Shot City Bulletin Board covering the Chicago Bulls, and 1 per week of What Did the White Sox Just Do, covering the historic Chicago White Sox of 2024.
Golf clap for them. That's a fantastic. And you know whose record they're going to break, right?
Detroit Tigers.
That's right. I get that off the record books for my guys. I appreciate it. Yeah. So on that note, I do have to get over here and get ready for Run Through the Jungle. So we appreciate you again. We will be back here again next week, doing our Pay Dirt. We're in season now. I know we did talk about wanting to mention real quick. Week 0 is up. If you are looking for something to gamble on, I've got Florida State -10 against Georgia Tech which I don't understand why it's not Notre Dame, but in Dublin, Ireland.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Florida State versus Georgia Tech. This is what I'm going to call it, the Don't Trust Bowl. I don't trust this game. I don't trust these teams. I don't know what I'm going to get. Man, life's too short to bet the under, right?
Can't do it. Live risky.
Florida State's got more to play for. Give me Florida State.
Yeah.
I'll lay the points. Let's go. All right. So that's it for us. We'll be back here next Wednesday on Pay Dirt. We appreciate you guys for listening, rocking with us. Go make that money and catch us next week when you can hit Pay Dirt.